Hi everyone, welcome to French Creek Farmhouse. I'm Christy, and welcome to our first ever Q&A session. We get a ton of questions from you guys every week, and we try to answer as many as we can in the comments, but sometimes they're repeat questions, so we thought it could be a really good idea to do a Q&A where we address some of the more popular questions that we get. And since everyone is on lockdown right now, this would be a really nice way to have a little bit of community with you today. So let's dive into the questions. Now, this is our first time doing a Q&A session, so we're kind of winging it, and we're just taking a collection of questions that are really pretty common. We answer them quite frequently from post to post, and we thought that they would be good ones to just sort of collect and share back. Not all of them. Some of them are more unique, and a lot of them are related to our current health. The other day, I posted about how we're dealing with illness in our house right now, and it was a really off-the-cuff decision to post that Instagram story, and I was completely overwhelmed at the number of messages that you all sent us. And it was really encouragement from many of you that, being able to see how people are handling things right now was a way to provide hope to them. And if we can be a part of that, and if we can be of service to you in that way, then of course we want to be able to do that. So here's a little attempt at bringing you some happiness. And if you guys like doing Q&A sessions, then we'll keep doing them. I think it's fun so far as we've been sort of collecting your questions and looking to see what were the most common things that we have been answering. So we'll kick it off with a more recent post. Recently did a spring tour of our entryway and our foyer. And pretty much every time, no matter what time of year I share that part of our home, we get asked about the paint color. I don't really know why it happens with just that part. It must have something to do with the light in that room, because it's the same paint color we have in every room of our house except for this one, which is a buttery yellow color, as you can see. But that paint color is used throughout our house. It's in my office. So it's pretty common in all of our photos, but it must stand out more in our entryway and foyer. So this question came from Kathy, who said that she just recently found us and wanted to know the paint color on our wall and the brand. She said she generally didn't like gray, but that she felt like the color on our walls was warm and cozy. And truly, the color is not gray. I would call it more of a grayish. It's certainly much more brown than it is gray, but probably the light must look differently in that room. So the color is called Barley, and it's from Valspar Signature, and it's the Eddie Bauer collection. And like I said, we use that throughout our home and throughout my office, and I really like that color a lot. The next question came from Gina, and I shared a tutorial recently about designing tiered trays. And the tiered tray that I used was a 3-tier white enamel with black edge. We sell that particular tray in our shop, so I don't have a better source for you than that right now, because it's not something that I know that you could just go and order. But that said, I know many of you have asked about ordering items from us, and we do want to be able to accommodate that. We're just not there yet, and we hope that we will be. I have to pause to cough, and we will get to the illness part of this Q&A. So excuse me for that. It's going to happen a lot. And as much as possible, I'm going to try to cut out the coughing for you. I joined a group of friends a couple of weeks ago for a spring blog tour of homes, and I just did another one a few days ago as well. We did our entryway in one and our foyer in another, and luckily those projects were completed before the illness struck, and I was able to write those posts in advance because my ability to do that lately has been really impaired. And in that entryway photo, I had a pitcher full of tulips. And Kathy from Phillipsburg, New Jersey asked whether the tulips are real. She said white is her favorite and she gets them weekly at her grocery store, but they didn't have any recently. Those tulips are artificial. And again, we sell those tulips in our shop. There are many places you can find artificial tulips. So you could Google online and find something, I'm sure. And I can't speak to the quality of every different type of artificial tulip. The ones in our shop, I'm kind of an artificial flower snob. I only like the ones that look very realistic. And so I chose the ones in our shop after sampling many different varieties sourcing from different vendors, and really love those ones because they look so realistic. You can't really tell that they're not. I do love them. And again, I hate to give you guys that resource because I know that many of you aren't local, and I hope that in the near future we'll be able to address that need. But thank you, Kathy, for your question, and I hope that you can find some white tulips soon because I love them this time of year. And of course, we live not too far from Skagit Valley where the Tulip Festival is held every year, and we love going to that. The fields it's really, you can't even capture it in a photo. It's amazing to see the mass quantity of tulips and in such a beautiful setting with the mountains all around the valley. It's past St. Patrick's Day now, but I recently shared making some ticking stripe shamrocks, clovers. And, even though it is past St. Patrick's Day, so maybe shamrocks aren't on the decor menu right now, given the current health situation for everybody, I kind of think that clovers are good luck symbols for everybody who might need it. So I am going to repost that tutorial. I provided a template and sources for all the materials that I used. You do not need a sewing machine to do this project. Excuse me. And it's a simple project that you could even teach kids to do. And so many kids are right now being homeschooled. This is a great activity. You could make some of these shamrocks to give away. And I think that they would be welcome little gifts. Maybe spray them with some Lysol if you have any contamination issues in your house. But it sounds like this virus doesn't live too long on soft surfaces. So perhaps it could work out that you could share some of these with your neighbors who maybe need a little luck right now. So Faye Howell dropped a note to us, and Faye is one of our top fans of our Facebook page. And if you're not on Facebook with us, I hope that you'll come join us. And Faye's so sweet, and she always leaves us nice notes. She asked where we found the fabric and whether or not it was gray stripes. It's green ticking that I used for that project, and I did link that fabric in the post. That day, I used some dish towel fabric that I had, which is the same green ticking fabric, and I think you could probably find that pretty easily. But I did link it, and that it can ship straight to you, so that's great. You don't have to leave your house to go try to find anything. All those materials can come straight to you. I also, when I shared the photo of those shamrocks, Tina said that she loved the cabinet in the picture, the little apothecary cabinet, and she wondered where I got that from. And I love that cabinet too. It weighs about 10 tons. It's very heavy, but it was a find on Craigslist. I got very lucky and someone was selling it. I've wanted a little apothecary cabinet for a long time. I hope you guys forgive my voice if you can hear there's a lot of strain right now as I'm trying to say all of these things to you, and I'm going to probably have to keep the Q&A short. However, that cabinet is one of my favorites. I don't think I'll ever be able to part with it, and if you ever are lucky enough to find one, snag it because they are really difficult to find. Okay, so because I don't think I'm going to have the voice energy to talk too much longer, I'll jump into some of the questions that you guys have been asking us about our illness. So the first question, and I can't attribute these questions to any specific person because honestly, I've received so many messages after I posted my Instagram story, And most of the questions were generally the same from everyone. So thank you so much. So many lovely notes from people caring for our family and how we're doing. Excuse me. So we really, truly appreciate that more than you know. And it means the world to us. So the first question is, do we have COVID-19? And a variation of that is whether or not we've been tested and why aren't we going to the hospital? So let me preface by saying that everything that I'm going to share with you should not be taken as any sort of medical advice. I am a doctor, but I'm not that kind of doctor. So if you want to talk about how you feel on an emotional wellness or a social psychological level with this virus, then that's my arena. But I'm not a medical doctor. So everything I'm going to share with you is just our personal experience about what our family has been going through. Excuse me. We have been in consultation with our family doctor, and our symptoms are aligned and consistent with COVID-19, but we have not been tested. And I can't speak to what's happening in every location in our country, but in our area right now, there is a shortage of tests, and those are being reserved for at-risk patients in hospitals who are presenting with acute symptoms that require professional treatment. And as you can see, I'm sitting here talking to you. Yes, I have shortness of breath, but our symptoms are mild to moderate, depending on the time of day that you are asking, but they're certainly not severe enough for either of us to need hospital care or any sort of specialized medical care. Our doctor advised us to self-quarantine, and that's what we've done. We've been quarantined here at home since March 9th, and we were told that if our fevers were to exceed 100.4 degrees, or if we had severe symptoms that we weren't able to self-manage anymore, then we were instructed to go to the hospital. And thankfully, that hasn't happened. So the other question that we're asked quite a lot is, so what are your symptoms? What does this feel like? A lot of people, I understand, are wondering whether or not they've been infected or what they're experiencing could possibly be COVID-19. And I don't think that you should take our experience as any sort of indicator of whether or not you should be tested or what you may be sick with. But I will tell you that our symptoms are pretty much what you're seeing right now, which is a dry cough, shortness of breath, and an occasional fever. We also are both experiencing quite a lot of fatigue. I am not a person who naps, and we're both early morning people. We don't sleep quite a lot. We're usually up by 4:30 every day. Even on the weekends, we don't use an alarm clock in our house, but that's not the case right now. We are definitely fatigued beyond what we are used to. Some feelings of weakness, and then secondary symptoms like sore throat, which is happening because of the coughing, or headache, which again happens because of so much coughing. It gets tiresome throughout the day. And so a dry cough this is the gross part, so you may want to fast forward, but a dry cough is an unproductive cough. As you're seeing, what I'm doing is a lot of hacking, and it's very raw, as you can probably tell in my voice. It's not a type of cough where you're coughing anything mucousy up. It's just very, very irritating. And I think that this cough part is, I think, the worst part of the whole experience. Talking, as you can see, for me is very difficult. And I have to try to breathe more shallowly to try to control the urge to cough, because deep breaths, like we normally take when we talk and sustain our voice for a long time, triggers the cough to happen. Walking upstairs, both of us, walking up one flight of stairs makes us feel winded. And then when we're winded, we start to cough more. Too much of that coughing throughout the day then results in that secondary headache, the sore throat, and just really just exhaustion. And then with exhaustion, you have things like irritability. You just get so tired of the symptoms of trying to deal with it and manage it throughout the day. So really, we've been trying to lay low as much as possible. Watch a movie, take naps throughout the day. Again, I am not a person who naps, but we have been, and trying not to overexert ourselves to the point where our body can't do its own job fighting off the illness. And so then the next question is, how do we think we got it? And of course, there's really no way to know that. We do suspect that Rob probably got infected first, and I got it from him. And the reason we think that is because all along, my symptoms have been about 3 days behind what his experience is. So it kind of seems like he got it, and then I caught it, and so I'm just kind of trailing along behind. How bad is it? That's another question that many people have been asking us who are worried about catching this or worried that they have been infected. So I'll answer this question from two perspectives. Rob is not feeling well enough to want to be on camera today, so I'm doing all the talking. And for him, he says this is the sickest he has been in his entire life. It has been scary for me just to watch him, and I know that it's way worse for him to experience it. At night, he'll wake up coughing and gasping to try to breathe, and at times, both of us have experienced that at times you cough so much that it triggers your reflexes and causes you to vomit. And that is scary because you have to make sure that you don't aspirate that back into your lungs when you're trying to get air in. For me, I can't remember being this sick for such a prolonged period of time before in my life. But I was one of those lucky people who got H1N1 several years ago, and I was definitely more severely symptomatic with that illness, but it didn't last for as long. So I'm kind of used to that normal bell curve of illness where, you start out sort of feeling kind of low for a couple of days, and then you gradually are feeling worse until your symptoms hit a point that you start getting a little bit better each day. So this illness is weird. It has not worked the same way. It's really just been dragging on. Like I said, we've been quarantined since March 9th, and without much noticeable relief with our symptoms. The first couple of days, we did just feel low. We both thought that, maybe we were fighting something. Maybe we were just kind of run down from doing too much, which is honestly common for us, taking on a lot of projects. And we didn't think that we were necessarily sick. But then all of a sudden it just, bam, the symptoms hit us, and the symptoms have really just been the same every day since then. There hasn't been that sort of bell curve of illness that we're used to. So we're hoping that is going to happen. We have read from the World Health Organization that the best available information they have right now says that patients generally recover in that 2-week range for mild symptoms, or 3 to 6 weeks for more serious. So, we're right there at that 2-week time period, and we're kind of hoping that we're going to start to see an upswing for us that's going to put us back into a normal life again, which would be welcome right now. And then I think everybody is worried about this, whether you're sick or not, but a question we've heard is, do you need anything? Do you have supplies? So the short answer is we're doing okay right now, and so I don't want anyone to worry for us. But we are definitely taking stock, and we're thinking about what is likely to happen for not just us, but most Americans and many people around the world, not just Americans, in the coming days and weeks. So part of our homesteading philosophy is about being more self-sufficient within reason. We certainly don't follow any sort of extremist protocols. We are in no way off the grid, and we aren't, zombie apocalypse preppers or anything like that. But we do keep some supplies on hand because we do live rurally, and for emergencies and severe weather and, the possibility of natural disaster, we do live in an earthquake-prone area, and times of illness like what we're experiencing right now. We freeze, we dehydrate food for storage, and that's something that we do on a rotating schedule throughout the year. We do store drinking water as well, rotating it throughout the year, just for emergency purposes. So this has really served us well more than once over the years, especially during wintertime when we've dealt with extreme weather conditions, and we've been snowed in sometimes for a couple of weeks at a time and unable to go in to town. So it's helped us before, and it's helping us now. And we're also using grocery delivery services. We have grocery delivery scheduled. It'll be coming soon. If you have that available to you, it's a great service. If you haven't looked into it, I know our local grocery delivery service usually can get deliveries to you by the next day, but right now it's like a week out. So if you're thinking you might need groceries, you might want to place an order now so that it could be available to you several days later. And a lot of the grocery stores have curbside pickup too, which is a really great service to help minimize spread. Since we're self-quarantined, we are trying to really minimize our connection to others right now to do our part to help minimize that spread. If you're symptomatic, then you should be able to spread the illness. So we don't want to engage with others right now. And then we do also, not just in terms of food, but in terms of household supplies, we do keep a small amount of supplies on hand for the same reason. Nothing extreme, but enough that if we were stuck for a short amount of time, like we currently are, we're going to be covered, and we are covered for a bit for that too. So I think that the key right now, I certainly don't need to tell you that it's serious or that you should wash your hands. You're hearing that from everybody else. So I will not repeat that. But I think that the key for us is just to be mindful and not panic. And I also think that really, if we're being good stewards of the land, of the earth, that's how we should be thinking all of the time, not just when things are bad. And that's really what our homesteading philosophy is about. We try not to, waste and use in excess of what we need. And we try to be more self-sufficient so that we are able to provide for ourselves when things are more difficult, like what we're experiencing right now. So I'm grateful that we have those practices in place. I know that because we don't take those to a great extent, that they will run out if we're not able to get more supplies at some point, but we're not at that place yet. And I am hoping and trusting that we won't get there. So I just hope that all of you stay healthy, be grateful for your health if you do have it, and try to help to spread it to keep it from spreading to others. So I think those kind of covered the bulk of the questions that we've been getting lately, and I hope it was helpful to you. If you have other questions, we would love to do this again and share more information with you guys. So feel free to drop us a note. We'll start collecting those, and we'll do another session again sometime in the future. Stay healthy, and we'll talk to you again soon.